Welcome back to the Pat Long Codes YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking at creating PDFs with charts and tables using the Reportlab library in Python, and we'll be using Google Colab. So just before we get started, I want to show you the PDF we're going to be producing. You can see it has a chart of the GDP and a table with the unemployment rate for the United States in it. And this is how you can get started in Google Colab, even if you've never used it before. Just go in Chrome, or I think you can go in other browsers, but it's probably best using Chrome. Most people use Chrome, so just search for Google Colab. And the first response you'll see is welcome to Colab. Click on that, and once it loads, you're ready to get started with a new workbook. You just have to sign in with a Google account or sign up for one. And there's no further setup required. So here I am in Google Colab. And to start with, I'm going to want to import the Reportlab library, but you'll notice it isn't installed, so the import statement's not going to work. So we're going to have to go ahead and pip install this particular library. All the other libraries I'm going to use in this tutorial should be there without needing that extra installation. So each time you start a runtime, you're going to need that pip install at the top. So that'll be in my notebook. That'll be linked in the description below this video. I'm also going to be using Pandas Data Reader, and Matplotlib. Matplotlib for the chart we're going to be producing, and Pandas Data Reader will be for the two data series that we're going to use just for demonstration purposes, but easily reproducible for anyone. And also with Reportlab, you need several different modules within Reportlab. So there's going to be a few from Reportlab, for example, from reportlab.pdfgen, import canvas, and from reportlab.pdfbase, import PDF metrics, and sometimes you might, as you're going along, miss some, whether you're looking at the Reportlab documentation, or you're going to get feedback from, you're going to look in your traceback in Python and see that you don't have something installed, or you don't have the import statement. You can easily troubleshoot that. So to start with, I'm going to go ahead and get the data, which is coming from Pandas Data Reader from the FRED, the Federal Reserve Economic Database API. And when you do this, when you do pdr.datareader, you can see all these arguments, and one of them will be, where you're going to get your data from and what your series is. So the two series I'm going to get are GDP and unrate. These are specified on. You can look at the FRED website to pick out the series you might want, and I'm specifying here that I'm using the FRED engine, and then I'm going to put the start date of my series and the end date as the last two arguments. Or you don't necessarily need an end date, but currently I don't have one there, and it'll just go through the latest month. If you wanted to tinker around with that and maybe go to September, you can add that argument at the end, if you choose to do so, and you'll get one less month. Also here, notice that GDP is a quarterly series. So it has null values for 2 months out of every 3 months. And we'll address how we can easily fix that for a time series chart later on. Here, I'm just going to make an observation start and observation end object with those dates. And also I want to demonstrate how you can make this dynamic. So if you were to run this a couple of years down the line, you could make the observation and whatever the current month is. So it'll take a little bit of work using the date time and date util modules. So I'm going to want the start the first of the current month, and then I'm going to do relative change, relative delta, which I'm using the date util module. And then I'm going to format it in this specific way. So this would be % uppercase Y for the 4 character year, and then %M lowercase for the 2 character month, and % lowercase d for the 2 digit day. And I also want to make sure I import date util, which I didn't earlier. So let's take a look what observation n looks like. It looks like I have an extra parenthesis in here somewhere. Oh, and I still have it. I think it's the date time now. There we go. So that should work. And you can see our end date ends up being the 30th of November. I'm recording this in November 2024. So. Cool, so I'm going to carry on here with some data manipulation to add a year column, specifically just because it'll look better than that full date in a chart or in a table. So let's go ahead and we'll use the string format time to use that to get that 4-digit year as a string as one column, and we'll call that year. And we'll also go ahead and get the month too. But first we also need to fill in these null values using forward fill for the quarterly GDP data. So you just go ahead and do that ffill function, and there you go. It should fill in. We should see at the top, you see the same free values for the whole quarter rather than having null values. Now we're going to get started creating tables. We'll definitely be using a table for the unemployment rate and potentially for the GDP rate. And this is these are the two columns we'll want for the table, and we'll go ahead and round them too. And this will be the unemployment table with the correct series in there. And these will be the data that we're going to use for the unemployment table, just taking a look at what that looks like. So now let's go ahead and take a look at what we need to do to plot the GDP using the Matplotlib library. We're going to use a lot of the default settings and try and make this fairly straightforward here. So we'll plot the index, which is the year, against the GDP values. And we'll just use color for the default chart type, which will be a line chart, and that's going to be blue. You can do a lot of things in terms of the settings to change the line thickness or what have you, but we're just going to take the defaults here. Our X label is going to be year, and our Y label will be GDP in trillions of US dollars. And our title will be something meaningful, so GDP of USA over the last 10 years. And to save the chart, I'm also, because we're probably going to use this object again, GDP chart, when we save it in PDF later. But for now, we're just going to save it as its own .png. And I'm also going to use plt.show to take a look below at what the chart looks like. So there we see it. And for example, you can sort of see, and that's the PNG if you wanted to click on that. Okay, I'll comment that out for now. So now let's get started in actually creating the PDF document that we're going to be inserting this chart and also printing a table into. So you'll notice throughout this, it's useful, especially if you don't use Reportlab a lot, to look at all the different arguments there are. Here I'm going to be naming the PDF, and I'm also going to set the page size to letter. And that comes in handy when I set the width and the height equal to letter. I can key off that. Sorry, I think I made a typo there. I can key off that letter to determine where I'm placing the chart and the table and text boxes in the PDF. So let's add a title to the document. So this title could basically be this, the US economy over the last 10 years. And that title will be what shows up in, for example, if you open a PDF in Chrome, it's what shows up in the Chrome tab. So it's not the title inside the document itself. Now we can do that next. So I'm going to set the font to large. So it's going to be size 24, and Helvetica is the font type I'm deciding to use. Now I'm going to use drawString to actually put a title inside the body. And now I'm specifying the location of the bottom left-hand corner of this text box. I'm going to key off that height object I made earlier. And then we're going to put a text in here. And so I'm going 100 in from the left and minus 50 down from the height of the document would be the bottom left-hand corner of this text I'm writing. Now let's think about where we're going to add in the GDP chart we already made in Matplotlib. So again, we're going to make use of that GDP chart object we made, which is gdpchart.png. We're going to come in 100 again from the left, and we're going to want to go down further here, depending on what height and width I'm going to make this. So I'm going to make it width 400, which means it's going across 400. I could accept the default, but I'm choosing to scale it here again. You can see this in the arguments. And if it doesn't look great, once I've made it, I can adjust these based on what it's looking like. But let's go ahead and take a look at what it looks like now with the doc.save. And so I think I haven't defined letter in my imports at the top of this script. So let me go to the top of my workbook. Come in and put in so it'll be from Reportlab .lib, and then I think it's dot page size is import letter. So that appears to be what's missing. And let's see. So yeah, it looks like it ran through, and now we can check out what the PDF's actually looking like if we refresh. And yeah, you can see the big font up top with the text. And the chart's looking in good shape. So yeah, as we go back to Colab, now we're going to think about how we're going to add in the table that we were planning to do for the unemployment rate. So let's take a look at what that data frame was looking like again. So just as the year and the unemployment rate, I'm thinking we want year on the y-axis and then months across the top on the x-axis of the table. So we're probably going to want to change these. So we're also not using this GDP table. I probably shouldn't have made that. Let's go ahead and sort of modify this unemployment table. I'll start by just making unemployment data as a subset of that data frame we made. And we're kind of repeating ourselves here, but you just go ahead and make the year column, and we want a month column too. And we'll make it the percent B lowercase, which will be like a 3-character month, like APR for April. Percent uppercase B would be the full April rather than APR, for example, for April. And we're going to want to pivot, do a pivot on this table. The index will be year, columns will be month, and the values will be the unrate series we made, which is the unemployment rate data. And let's go ahead and just take a look at what this looks like. Is it a desirable way we want to set up? And we'll see the print before and another print afterwards to see what the change has been. So yeah, this is what we want, but the order of the months is totally wrong. So we can think about how to fix that. An easy way to fix this is just make a list, an order, like a list that puts them in order from January through December. There may be I think there's a way to do this using the calendar library and month abbreviations inside the calendar library, but this is just a quick fix for now. Just put the 12 months in order, and then we can set that as the order we want to use for the column titles across the top. And yeah, we'll take this list and re-index columns equals month order. And now let's just take a look at what this looks like. And also mention in the comment here that we're getting the column order correct. So before, out of order, and now in the order we want. Perfect. And November and December, we don't have data for those yet for the unemployment rate, because currently we're in November 2024. All right, so let's look at how we can insert this into the document. So we're going to be wanting to use draw string here to put some kind of a title for the table in here. And again, we've come in 100 from the left each time. And then we're going to want to use this height and make sure it's below the bottom of that chart. And the title for this will be unemployment rate by year and month. So we're going to want to set the font to be smaller because for the main title it was size 24. We'll set it to 12. So yeah, we're going to convert the unemployment table data frame that we just made to be a list that's easily usable to create a Reportlab table. So this will be our and then we're going to add to this table data with the actual observations. That will be the UN the values. We'll put the values into a list. Using this toList function to put the actual values that represent the unemployment rate into this table data list. And here I'm just going to make another list to set the widths of the column first. The first width will be 60, and then I'm going to make the month columns be about half that size. And, you can do the math to sort of add 60 plus 12 times 30 to think about how wide that table is going to be. And again, if it's too wide or you want to fill it out some more, you can adjust these values after looking at it in the PDF for the first time. All right, but let's go ahead and create and style the table. So we can look at all the different options we see in here. We're going to use table data, and that col width a list we made is going to come in handy. And now we'll take a look at what it looks like, and afterwards we'll insert some style into the table. But first we just got to look at inserting the table. We're also going to I've set it to 0. It'll be quite far to the left, but we can get a gauge of how wide this kind of table is, just to get a sense of whether we need to bring it in a little bit and see what it looks like with no formatting on it. So we can see it's just directly below the chart. We probably want some space there. It's all the way to the left. We probably want to bring it in a bit. And the widths on the columns look pretty good. But now we'll go ahead and add some formatting to this, make it look a bit nicer, and adjust. So we'll go ahead and go back up to where we were going to say insert some style here. And also, like I said, it was set to 0. We'll bring it to 100. And we also brought it down further as well. So here with table style, there's a look at the Reportlab documentation for a full list of all the different options you can use. I'm just going to touch 3 of them here. First one I'm going to use is background. And in these, you'll specify which columns and rows you want to be subject to this style. So I'm going to set the background color to gray here, and you can also specify font. Going to specify the alignment of all columns except the far left one to be center. So the years will be left aligned, which will be the default, and everything else will be centered. So all the values, all the data, the unemployment data will be centered. And then I'm going to make the grid black as well. I also need to make the year an integer. I'm trying to think of a way to do that. Maybe just using the round function there. I'll do that. I didn't like that. This is inside a list. Maybe if I did it earlier in the data frame, although it looked like it becomes a floating point later on. Anyway, let's take a look at what this looks like with all those other changes in style. So yeah, much better. It's indented nicer. There's more space. Probably should fix that title above it as well. But I still have that 0.0 on the year, but otherwise it's looking pretty good. So yeah, we'll bring that down a little bit. So, and I'm centering it there a bit because it kind of looked left aligned. That didn't really help, so I'll just take that out. And there you go, the title's looking better again. Oh, I still haven't fixed this. I still haven't fixed that floating point situation on the year. I have to do something inside that list. Down where I... let me comment this out and I'll go ahead and see what I can do here. I think if I just set the year as an integer and then so call the first if I call them all cols 0, the 0 item for each col in this list called that I made up there, and every other value I won't make an int. That should do it, yeah. And then let's see if it looks right. Yeah, cool. So the year, perfect. That's what we want, and that's the end. Really, I messed around with that for far too long. But yeah, everything else seems to look the way we wanted it. So this is basically the way to do it. We looked at some dynamic dates and how to pull some data, but also we were taking our time figuring out how to insert a chart and a table into a PDF. So again, thanks for watching. The code I used in this tutorial is in the description below, as well as a link to the Reportlab docs. Thanks for watching.